Discussion. Let's start with the pledge.
I
Pledge
pledge.
allegiance to I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first on our agenda, sorry about the delayed start to everyone. Is the Model UN.
Yes. So unfortunately, Ms. Betts, who is the advisor, could not be here this evening, but we do have 4 students here representing the high school. So we have Kamora O'Farrell, Adeline Francia, Olivia Weinkoop, and we have Sophia Rogers. And 2 of these students were also recognized as distinguished delegates. And from what I understood, you were going to tell us a little bit about the project that you had done on your trip, correct?
Yes.
So our distinguished delegates are Adeline Francia and Olivia Weinkoop in the middle. And so, was that not correct? No. And Kamora.
It was Addie and I.
Okay, I apologize for that. That's not what I tried here. So did you want to start just telling us a little bit about the work and sort of the club and what you actually do when you take the trip down to the.
Yeah, of course. Sure. So basically, Model UN is basically the teenage version, the kids version of what we did for the United Nations. We talk about world problems and you represent a country, a delegation, and based off that country's proposition and their solutions and how they've been able to combat that issue, you're trying to get other countries to agree with you, you're basically going to be voting on an issue. You're trying to get as many people as possible to agree with the proposed solution. And you write about some of the things that you want to target and get accomplished. And that could be as many countries as you want. Like Addie and I, we were representing the delegation of Italy. I think we deserve a citizenship after that, but and we were representing basically UNFCCC, which basically in general, to generalize it, is climate change. And for us, we did topic A, which was accountability for climate change. And there's 2 topics, topic A and topic B. And when you first get there to the committee with all these other nations, you're going to decide on which topic you would like to work on. And if there's time, you would move on to the next one. You would decide on one, and obviously majority rules. And I wrote my position paper on obviously Italy for accountability for climate change while I did topic B. How the impact of climate change on indigenous communities.
Basically, we worked with a bunch of other teenagers from around the world who were also in high school at the time. And we just basically came together with a bunch of people from around the world who were representing each their own country. And we were all put into the same committee, which we were climate change. And we basically worked with them to come up with solutions for climate change.
And part of the whole Model UN thing, other than to accomplish issues and propose solutions, is that you want to be the best of the best. You want to lead these working papers, which would be basically a draft for paper that you're writing, that you're giving it to a teacher before you create your final and you hand it in. And we were making sure that Addie and I were always tip top shape, always there early, always there giving our best. And that is why we won our top delegate out of 186 delegates. I was there representing.
Wow. Great.
And I apologize for my notes, what I was supposed to. In addition to our 2 distinguished delegates, we have our 2 seniors here representing. So that's Olivia Weinkoop and Sophia Rogers. So I apologize about that.
No problem. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Any questions for our delegates?
So specifically, in Italy, what did you focus on? I mean, was it more what their impact is on climate change, or is it how they're being affected by climate change?
So basically, when it came to climate change on Italy's behalf, they talked about how impact has impacted them and how they see how it impacted others. And as you know, Italy is a first world country, it's a developed country. And when Italy saw these other countries, these third world countries, they wanted to help and send aid to that. So that's why we collaborated with other first world nations to help third world countries. And that's why we came up with a position paper and was it draft resolution and working paper to combat these issues. Because as it goes for any countries that you might get, you talk about how it's impacted your country and how you've made solutions to combat that issue, as well as seeing how it affects other countries and also help them combat their issue.
Very good. Other questions?
Did you have a lot of like opposition, that you had to try to convince them to be on your side and?
Okay, so basically during UN, when we're writing draft resolutions, there's key solutions that can get passed.
Mhm.
I have a specific word for it, but basically we all form, yeah, signatures, so we all get formed into different blocks, and usually there's around like, it's depending how big the committee is, but I think like up to like 3 draft resolutions that get passed. But in your block, you need to get signatures for your solutions for the problem. So for example, like climate change, when we were like figuring out solutions like for new renewable energies, we had to get like about 21% of like the whole entire committee. So that was about like, what, 30 countries, I think it was, our committee, because there's a lot of countries, to sign off on it. But if you didn't get enough signatures, then it wouldn't pass and they just get rid of the whole.
Or you can merge, because we originally, Addie and I, we had 2 different blocks. The third one, we don't talk about because it's nothing, but anyway. And we basically had the same issues and everything that we wanted to target, but we just had one extra thing. And instead of working against each other to combat the same issue, we decided to merge and we became the base and E block.
Yeah, I was gonna add.
So me and Olivia actually represented an entirely different committee. We were CMS, which is Conservation of Migratory Species. And the topic that we were Poland, this one, we were in Italy, we were the delegation of Poland. Because our club was kind of split into 2 different countries, because we had enough people. But so our topic was the preservation of Pacific shark species. So the entire weekend, it was just like Shark Week, basically. And all we did was talk about sharks. And a really big, like, conflicting issue is a lot of, like, economical differences as well as global differences in, like, different sections of the world. Like, a big problem, this is just for ours specifically, is shark fin soup. That is one of the biggest reasons why sharks are poached. And obviously there are people in countries who are like, we need to eliminate this, but then there's also countries, more like Asian countries, that actually rely on shark fin soup for, like, their culture, and a lot of their, like, economic growth comes from the production of shark fin soup. So it's kind of challenging to try and overcome these differences because it's a problem that needs to be managed, but you need to manage it to make sure that other countries don't suffer because of it. So that's like a really big, like, learning point, I think, in Model UN, is learning to compromise. Like, these are really important compromises. Like, these are like like people's lives at stake, but it's also the species at stake. So
Also, to add on to your question earlier, when you asked like how like Italy kind of like is relating to like how their topic works, for us, because obviously Poland is like not near the Pacific Ocean, so a lot of us is like it's just the way that like the UN works, we're all supposed to be united and all working towards one issue, and like we help you out with your issue, you help us out with this issue, even though it may not directly affect Poland. Poland was indirectly affected through like global trade markets, and it's like, you know, like a reaction, like you take away one shark fin soup from one area, it can affect other countries. So it's all kind of just working together, give and take, like we do this for you, you do this for us.
it really helps to realize how interconnected, like, all the countries in the world are, and how we all really have to work together in order for all of us to prosper. And like Olivia said, like, even though you would think the Pacific, like, the population of Pacific shark species wouldn't affect Poland, which is not, like she said, remotely close to the Pacific Ocean, it does, and it did a lot. Like, we would have like a huge economic downfall, as well as just other countries that are our allies, like, having a huge downfall as well. So it kind of opens up your eyes a little bit onto how, like, everything, like, everybody needs to work together.
And it's the main point from all UN is based on whatever country is. You have to do research, background research, like, okay, what countries are in these committees? What are these people's religious views? Because religion has a very big impact on these countries, theocracy run, democratically run. Communist countries, fascist countries, you have to be aware of that. And you have to, for Addie and I knew more information about the other countries I was being aware of than my own country. And then same with what Olivia and Sophie was talking about. You have to find your weaknesses and your strengths. For me, I despise writing, no offense to Soldier, you know. But I despise writing, but I like doing like the research part and I like talking, I like to hear myself talk. And Addie over here, she was always writing and everything, like our hands, we bought like, what was it, 5 stacks of like Post-it notes. We went through like 2 within like 3 hours, because these are 3-hour meetings. There's one right after the opening ceremony, which is from like 8 to 11 PM.
Wow.
We did not go to sleep after that, no. And then we woke up the next day, had a 3-hour session, lunch, 3-hour session, and then the next day we had 3-hour session, break, shorter session where you finalized out all the documents, and then you had a party. But honestly, I think it was like the best experience. I really love Model UN. I want to go and double major in poli-sci and do a double major also in environmental engineering, because I just love climate change and I like international relations and I like to talk. So I think that was really great for me. And this was Addie and I's first year working together. We just decided last year, it's 2 little baby freshies. And it was really nice, and I can't wait to work with her next year and for the rest of the years, because we're opposite.
Yeah, we also have such a short amount of time at UN. It's only like 4 days, but it's really like 3-hour committees, which sound like a lot of time. But with like unmods, which is like an unorganized form of speech, which is like where you go off like, within the room, obviously, and go talk to other delegates. And then there's mods, moderating conferences, which you give out speeches in like an orderly fashion. It seems like a lot of time, but you think in consideration that there's like 100 countries-ish with you, and like 2 delegates representing each country. It's a lot of people, so it's very hard to like work together with people when there's a lot of people. So to like work together with so many people in such a short amount of time, it can get very stressful.
And like each committee is never the same. So for our committees, we had 186 delegates. Like the World Health Organization, I think that Gabby had, I think in other committees, they had like 300 people, and it's different. And the more people you have, especially if they have very strong ideas and they don't want to change their ideas and compromise at all, not speaking from any personal experience, it's really hard to mitigate everything and get other people to make sure their ideas are heard, especially in Italy being a developed country and a first world country. We wanted to really prioritize smaller nations. As my mom herself, she's an immigrant from Barbados, a very smaller country, is a developing country to a first world nation, but a smaller country in the islands with a lot of ethnic people, and they have very strong feelings and traditions and stuck in their ways. It's very hard for them to westernize and modernize, because yeah, of course you want to modernize, and that can be put in the same boat as westernization, but you still want their feelings to be heard and their cultures to still be preserved, because these are the people that is living their lives. And of course you want the best for them, but you have to make sure that their ideas isn't being looked over because of what they have. So I think that's very important, that you still need to keep in mind of.
And really quickly, I want to point out that you don't have to major in like, you don't have to want a career in politics in order for you to do Model UN. I think it's actually super important, because you learn how to argue, how to defend your arguments. You meet a bunch of people, and you also learn a lot about diplomatic relations as well, because even though like outside of the committees, like we might just like be like our normal teenage selves, when you are in that committee, you are your country. And so, for example, Russia and Ukraine, like they were kind of going at each other. Like it's like there's like countries you don't want to work with. Like genuinely, like last year we were in Thailand and we were told like no one's gonna want to work with Russia. Like it's like stuff like that. Like these are like you have to learn how to overcome these obstacles in order to like work together, you know? And I think that's a really important skill to have, especially because you can start Model UN so young, like freshman year, you can start, and I think sometimes you can start in 8th grade
I
too, right?
started in 8th grade, Model UN, I was an observer. I couldn't officially join because I wasn't in high school yet, but I've always loved international relations. I love all the things. And I always like watching all these countries, all these different TV shows and movies in different languages. So I've always been very passionate about diplomacy and Model UN. And I like dressing up too, that's really fun. And so I think it's really great that a lot of people just have to see it's fine. You don't have to go into politics, you don't have to do this as a career, but it's just something fun, and it's a great experience. You get to deal with a lot of different personalities and meet with a lot of personalities, even though some personalities are not as good as your personality, but that's okay. So it's really nice, but I honestly am so sad that these people are gonna be gone. I'm gonna miss them next year.
And I think it's like, I feel like it's definitely important to encourage, like, especially the middle schoolers, because it's the eighth graders who are going up to the high school. Like, it sounds boring, like, oh, politics, like, a lot of kids aren't interested in that, but it's really not. If you choose a committee that you're passionate in, like I said, we just talked about sharks all week. It was like an animal convention. And the other topic that was gone was like the Great Migration, the Serengeti. Like, there's gonna always be something for everyone. And I think it's just really important to try and promote it more, because I'd never heard of it until my junior year. So I think it's definitely something that has to be, put out there more. And also you can just, like, if they're like, oh, I don't really wanna do it, it's not boring, you know, it's like, it's a trip to the city, it's have fun.
Well, the skills that you gain, right, through all these experiences, it doesn't matter, like you were saying, it doesn't matter what field you're going into. You need to be able to work with people, right? You need to be able to have those relationships and collaborate and talk through difficult issues. So I think it's, fabulous learning no matter what you're interested in pursuing in the future.
Oh, and the reason that we wanted you all to be here, tell us about your experience, is to just tell you how proud we are of you guys. When you leave the school, when you go to the UN, wherever you go, you are Millbrook. I mean, you're the face of Millbrook when you're on these committees, when you're leading these discussions. And the feedback we get is phenomenal. It's, what wonderful kids you have, what talented kids you have, what intelligent. It's really a great thing for us to have you guys doing so well in these things out in the public. So thank you very much. And, I don't know if anybody else has any questions, but,
For
thrilled.
the seniors, Sophia and Olivia, what are your plans after you graduate? It's okay if you don't know.
I'm going to the University of Buffalo to study aerospace engineering.
Wow.
So very different from Model UN, but I'm gonna have to collaborate with people. I know that for sure. And I know that especially with engineering, everyone has different ideas and it's a very collaborative field. And now I feel like I'm definitely better at persuading people, but also listening to other people's ideas as well, accepting that there's more than one right answer.
Especially if your airplanes look like sharks.
Yeah. I should do that, should do shark plane.
And it's literally a club. A lot of these other countries that we meet, a lot of these other kids who come from different countries for this convention, they have this as a class, they're being graded. You literally see their teachers in the back of the room. Like after they finish speaking, they're like, oh, you could do this better, whatever. This is literally a club. This is something that you do for fun. And if you don't like it, you just don't do it next year. And it's an experience. The worst thing you can say is that I never got out there and I never tried it. Because I hate math and English. That's just not very much. But
You don't like to write, you don't like math,
she likes to talk. She likes to talk. I like to
you
talk.
like to talk.
And you were early. That was, I
Oh,
agree
come
on
on.
that. That's probably one of the best things you could ever say, that you're early.
And cause the meeting started at 8 AM, we got there 7:20.
Yeah.
7:30, we were introducing ourselves in these fabulous outfits that I coordinated between Addie and I. It was just amazing, just got to talk to different people, if they had an opposing side and what they thought what would be the best idea, we're okay, we understand that, especially if they're a smaller country, and we definitely want to incorporate that, so. And I think it's just nice to just meet other people, if it's not only just in the political multi-event factor, I still have friends that I talked to today, there's one Venezuela and Japan, and it's really nice.
Very fun.
Olivia, you want to share?
Yeah. I'm going to Emmanuel College. It's in Boston. I'm going to major in elementary education.
Very nice.
See you there, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so
Yeah,
much.
thank you.
Having a.
Spread the word and try to recruit some.
Yeah, we can definitely come and talk to the eighth graders too,
Oh,
because
that would be great.
most of my family is all done. I don't really have anything that I'm doing in classes, so if. Oh, we do. Like, you could definitely come and talk to them too and try and maybe if they hear from people who are not super like much older than them, it might be a little, like, no offense to you guys. I don't- We're in the same generation, so if they hear from us, if not all politics, they might be more interested.
I donate myself to a second period English class. I always.
She doesn't go to math.
That's great. Eighth period, this is Rosa side for geometry, just ideas to keep in mind, you know.
Thank you. I will send an email to your
Thank you so
principal.
much.
Thank you.
It sounds wonderful. Yeah, and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Wow. I'm pretty sure she looked right at me when she said that, you know, we're not old, like. Next is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion, questions, comments? No? All in favor? Aye. Any against? Next is the financials and warrants. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. Questions, comments, concerns? All in favor? Aye. Any against? Let's see, President, Vice President report, I think those reports will come out hopefully 10 o'clock tonight. But I have nothing really.
And get more around.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes. We have.
No, I'm good as
Pretty
well.
good, thank you. Caroline?
Yeah, so we have, a couple of exciting things that have happened the past few weeks. We have welcomed onto campus our new pre-K and kindergarten students for screening. So that took place the week of the 13th through 17th. And it was really great to be able to have one, universal screening tool. So we're using the advanced screener. We've actually transitioned away from the former screener that we were using because the Regant has a social emotional baseline measure. So this is a universal screener to sort of see a holistic view of the children as they enter. And then we always do comparative screening as well at the end of the year. So that's one of the benchmarks that we utilize for our earliest learners. We've also completed our benchmarking for students with IXL. What one of our young ladies was talking about was the fact that AP exams have concluded at the high school. So the students who are taking AP classes, this is the time of year when those courses wind down. And obviously that's because some other schools, especially in some other states, are ending right around now, time. So those are all finished. They took place, from May 6th through 17th. Additionally, our 3 through 8 exams have concluded, with the last one being our new science exam. So just so you are aware, this date transition to a new format for the science exam. Our students have experienced it and we've been able to give feedback through the Blue Ribbon Commission. So hopefully that will be reviewed by state ed and, they'll make some changes to the exam going forward. At this time of the year, students are starting to wrap up their academics. So students who've been taking world languages have had their checkpoint A and checkpoint B speaking portions. And if they have not, they will within this next week or so. And the written part of that exam will happen later in June. Additionally, every year we do NICESLAT testing, and that is for students who are learning English as a second language, or as a new language, I should say. For some of them, it's not their second. And so that helps us to provide programming based on the level that they achieve through that testing. So that's been conducted throughout the school district this week. And we also have a group of students in our enriched PE class who attended the educational day at Renegade Stadium. So there's schools from all over Dutchess County that go there and are able to experience a day at Renegades cheering on the baseball players there. We had an emergency response team training, so a safety team training from regional safety down at Elm Drive today. And additionally, we were able to find somebody to fix our freezer motor. So Mr. Mullins was able to locate a service that was able to repair the motor. So we will be monitoring it to make sure that it holds and then making decisions based on what we will do for our food inventory. Currently it is still in the external freezer because it's safest there right now. We have a new cybersecurity training cohort that our technology department will be participating in to make sure that we're always on the cutting edge of protecting our students' information and data for staff as well. Both chillers in the high school are fully operational, so that was delayed significantly by product acquisition, and that's due to the age and design of those two pieces of equipment. A big shout out to Ms. Donaghy for her effort that she put into the Spring Music Festival down at Elm Drive. It's always adorable. And the Millbrook High School Spring Arts Festival took place on the 15th, featuring so many talented artists and musicians. So congratulations to all that were represented there. We had a blood drive last week that was a huge success, as well as the high school prom. Last week was a really busy week around here. Not sure if you heard. But we had a really, really busy week. On May 9th, thanks to Ms. Wolford, we had our first annual wellness fair with more than 15 vendors from the area who provided information and resources to our students and their families that were in attendance. And we look forward to making that an annual event and expanding into different areas that we would like to have represented. The Central Office Administrative Team attended a training on the 2024 revisions to the Title IX laws and regulations. It seems like every time we turn around, there's changes to, some of our laws and regulations that govern the way we do business. So, we're always looking to learn along, and it seems like just when we roll it out and turnkey it, there's more new changes. Last week, I really want to say congratulations to Mr. Cabello for being willing to take this on. I know that there was some frustration in the community, and I understand for the length of time that the reunification drill took, but I do think that we need to celebrate the fact that we are one of the few school districts that are fully executing reunification procedures. What I always say is we don't want to be learning in the event of an emergency. Right? We want to have all of our learning done and have our processes down. So the PNW team came, they gave us many simulated hurdles that were being managed on the fly. So I actually really want to congratulate the middle school team and the representatives from Alden that were supporting. They gave them the challenge of working through this entire unification with no technology. So they had no access to the internet, no overhead PA. They had a person attempt to come in and sign up and take students home. We used the Gonzalez sisters. So
I have to admit, I was terrified of the response that was gonna take. No, let me drive.
well,
They did well.
we had to make sure that it was somebody that, knew we wouldn't let anybody out of the building with their children, so. So we, there was lots of wrinkles that, they were responding to on the fly, so I'm very proud of the efforts. We had an after action review. We went over soup to nuts, the entirety of the drill, from start to finish. Because like I said before, we don't want to learn in the event that we actually have to use a reunification. So there was lots of notes that were taken. There was lots of feedback that was shared. The majority of it was extremely positive. And really a lot of celebration around the fact that we are doing this type of work and modeling it for other schools in the region. So kudos to the middle school and thank you Alden for their support. I have a couple of just upcoming dates with the PTO has another staff appreciation day on May 30th. And then also Ms. Wolfberg will be leading the advisory council to review data related to social emotional programming throughout the district and make some decisions for goals for next year. And then I did have this note on my last report, but since the date hadn't passed yet, I just left it there. So that's about the Taconic Little League. And that's all I have.
Where did the feedback come from? And I don't mean specific people, but complaining about our.
that it took longer than they had anticipated, some of the
But
families.
where do we get, okay, I thought you meant like people in the village where we were in their way or cutting off traffic.
No, I think some families,
Yeah,
you know, we couldn't anticipate how long it was going to take, and the reality is that, you know, in an actual emergency, which we hope we never have to do this, right? You know, to dismiss one by one and even to be able to get the whole stage set is going to take some time. So, you know, we do apologize if it was an inconvenience to everyone, or anyone. But this is, you know, really invaluable learning that will help to keep students across the district safe. Because, you know, all of our buildings are participating in this work and it's drilling, so.
That being said, can we bake extra time in the future, assuming there'll be some curveballs thrown? 'Cause
Yeah.
It was a long time, I heard a lot of,
Yeah, absolutely.
believe me,
Yeah, absolutely.
any other questions? Caroline?
I just wanted to comment about the wellness fair, because I attended as a representative from the wellness committee. And I didn't really know what to anticipate, especially for the first annual or first one. And it was extremely impressive. I think it was very well put on. I walked in through the door, group of high schoolers came and took my kids right away to entertain them. And I went table to table and I walked away with much more information that I ever could have anticipated. And the representatives from various organizations, and committees that were there were just wonderful. Their organizations should be so proud to have such representatives come and speak to us. So thank you for that because it was a wonderful experience and I do hope it occurs year after year.
Yeah, thank you for that acknowledgement. It was very important to us to involve our students because wellness doesn't just surround our, you know, parents and our staff. It surrounds community members and our students, and we found that it was very supportive and helpful for our students to be able to provide mentorship and activities for the children who attended with their families. And it also gave, you know, families the opportunity to attend an evening event and have childcare. But also with that childcare, it's not just here, watch my child, it's let's provide different activities surrounding health and wellness where we can mentor your child and build them up as they move into different grade levels to see what it's like to be, you know, a growing adult in the community and continuous learning. So it was very impressive with what these children can do. And not to mention, they were many students part of our youth leadership team as well, which is something that is new this year.
That's great. How was the turnout? I couldn't go. How was the turnout?
So we had about 15 organizations. I invited about 67. But it was the first year. So there was also a transition fair occurring in Spackenkill. So they kind of overlapped one another, which was to no one's fault. They were coordinated in different districts. However, other districts were welcome to join that transition fair. So we had 15 vendors, but we also had approximately, I would say, 30 to 35 community members, including like children and parents and other members of the community. So for it being our first annual wellness fair, I think there was a lot of positive chatter that will build on to bringing in more participants next year. And as I continue to hear about more vendors who are interested in participating, which I did have a couple of vendors reach out after the fact saying that they heard it was a great event. We're hoping to have a larger buy-in next year.
And I think the high school students that were there from SAD were great when I was there in the early, in the beginning.
Well, we
They
had
were super helpful trying to set up and
Yeah, and some of our vendors were our own students, like SAD Club and
Right.
Cape had their own table
Right.
and the youth leadership team. So we're trying to also, you know, ensure that we are also promoting health and wellness within, but also using community members and resources to collaborate to continue to grow our health and wellness in the community. So thank you for participating.
It was very well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Anything else? Okay. Next we have the Alden Place. Tom is probably still down there taking care of stragglers. The report is in there. Just want to take a second to browse through it and if there's questions, we can either get into Tom or get answers from Caroline or Amy. The exit surveys, what are they?
Yeah, so I got
What
into
my
that.
question
So we have exit surveys for, well, in the past, we've had exit surveys for our students transitioning into a new building. So we had fifth grade, we had eighth grade going into ninth, and then senior exit surveys. But last year I worked with the school counselors to also create transition surveys because it's important to get feedback from our students who are going into the next grade level as well. So we created transition surveys for 6 through 8 and then 9 through 10, points 9 through 11. So we had them across the board for 6 to 12%, 5 to 12, I'm sorry. So now this year I worked with Alex and the psychologist to also ensure that we had an exit survey for second graders going into third grade. And then transition surveys also for Alden. So what the surveys address are food and nutrition, social, emotional wellness, advocacy, and goal setting. So we collect that data and then each building team works together to analyze the data and then discuss what goals we have for our students for the next year, but also anything we need to work on that addresses each of those subtopics.
And these are for the children, not the parents. Have you thought about doing them for the parents as well? I mean, just for like the grades that are moving on to the next building, thinking, well, most of those parents might have had a child in that building for 3 years, not all, but I mean, I don't know.
It's definitely something to think about that we can discuss across the board with, administration. I think that we definitely give parents a lot of opportunities to participate in surveys. Surrounding, at least I can speak to SEL.
Yeah.
But I can discuss with the team considering like what surveys can look like for surveying parents.
Just an idea.
It's a good point because one of the things we've talked about, so many times is how can we do exit surveys to figure out when kids are leaving here and going to say Lord's or Melbourne Prep or whatever. And you can't, I don't know if you can actually make that just off of like 8th and 9th, I'm leaving 8th grade. You want to know earlier that, well, I'm on JV and that, in 5th grade, or I don't know what would be in those. But finding ways to understand why we lose significant percentages as well to other schools for high school. So if there's, if we can rework surveys or move and like make additional surveys to say, well, 5th to 6th grade, we had this answer. And then in 8th grade, we had that answer of this child that was leaving. It might help us do a better job of focusing on things. And I noticed there's a comment about summer. Are we all set for summer school and teachers and tutors and all that stuff? Okay.
I have a question about the timing. So the 5th grade parents meeting at MMS on June 6th at 6:30. I think that underclassmen awards are at the high school. Is that correct? Is that correct? So it says 5th grade parents meeting, at MMS on June 6th at 6:30, but isn't the underclassmen?
Underclass awards are during the day.
Oh, it's during the
They're
day.
9
Okay.
And our meeting is at,
I think, yeah.
I think there is something that.
June 6th is the Dutchess County School Boards Association dinner.
Oh.
And there's an audit committee meeting that
And
evening.
our board meeting, so
And,
that's.
Okay.
I think isn't there also a 5th and 6th moving up something or other?
Moving up is
We have-
not
we have
until the
audit
13th.
Not moving up,
It's
orientation. or
the parent, but
Orientation.
it's at 6, it's not at 6:30.
So the audit committee meeting, but, before
We were
that.
looking, yeah. Right?
So we have the board, regular board meeting.
The parent, we moved the parent orientation to 6 instead of 6:30 to
Yeah.
accommodate the board members
Right.
to get to the meeting.
Okay.
So the underclass, that's in
Anything
the
else?
morning.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay. You guys know the drill on, future agenda items, public comments, questions, nothing, anything? Yep. All right, we're gonna go, or hopefully we're gonna go into executive session. That doesn't mean the meeting is over, so anyone listening, we may have to come back to public session after that. Well, we will come back to public session, but there may be actions to take based on what we discuss in executive session, so just want to warn everybody that's listening. Do I have a motion to go to executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any against? Good, we need 5 minutes. Good.